So Dandy's World's character designs are set during the early 1990s to the early 2000s, but the designs don't quite show this. The eyes look lifeless on every design, and not like the intentional like horror way of like, oh, they're like glazed eyes like a doll. No, just like googly eyes, like
Sir.
freaking Rainbow Friends eyes. Wow, a Rainbow Friends reference in the Big 25. I never knew that would happen. Anyways, using bare minimum analysis of 90s design, since I could not properly find any, and my own opinions, I'm gonna redesign the characters based on how they would look in an actual 90s show. So what I wanted to do for this was at first draw the holiday tunes instead, but I changed my mind to just experiment with the style with Dandy. But then I began to actually draw, where I gave him 5 petals instead of the 6 he has, so you can actually see his body more. Along with that, I'd also tried to give him a hat, but I just went for just giving him some like shorts or overalls thingies. Anyways, next up for DYLE, even though he doesn't appear in the show, I still decided to draw him. And also, I generally made his decently complex design much simpler. But then I began to do the line art, where I changed the eye shape to become more ovular, including on just doing whatever with the actual designs. But yeah, no, I gave the DYLE kind of a mustache look. I changed his tuxedo a tad to not look as vibrant when doing the colors, and I suffered with the chain, because why does he have such a long chain? I like it, don't get me wrong. It's just a nightmare to draw without the actual chain tool Will has for him. I just generally gave him a simpler shape. I give him some simpler trousers, some more cartoony looking shoes like Mario. A simpler tie, a kind of simpler shirt ruffle thing. But I just generally gave them more of a white and like, kind of like a bendy color scheme. That makes sense. But then I began to draw Dandy, where I just made him generally green with all his colors, and I made DYLE kind of a blue and a yellow, where Dandy becomes much more green, with the only unique colors being the actual petals in that. And that's about it. So for the mains, what I decided to do was just try to make something I liked. With Astro, I gave him more of a... I kind of just generally experimented with his design some before what I went for, which was like kind of like this, where I still kept his oval eyes, gave him more worried expression instead of just the eyebrow, since it looked off to me. Gave him a much bigger hat, his blanket go down all the way to his feet. And then for V, what I went for was just generally just something more similar to the style, where I gave her more of a triangular shape and like an actual tuxedo. And in the sketch, I'd given her robot legs, for example, like what Dr. Call's robot has, since that's based on old cartoons. But I still gave her like shoes and gloves to look like normal hands. And also kept the mic tail on that in the sketch. But for Shelly, honestly, I kept her mostly the same, where all I did was really just give her goggles right now. But yeah, that's actually like about it, mostly for her design. I tried to experiment with her shape some, and I gave her like a different colored button, I know, for the suspenders, I know that. And just generally made her simpler design. I also attempted to give her a tail, but I didn't think it fit. I attempted to give her a paleontologist hat, but I thought it was much nicer without it. And for Pebble, also I didn't do much for him. His design is really good. All I did was just give him the rock ears to try and make him look more like a dog. But for Sprout, I actually done quite a bit for him, as I'd give him a chef's hat with some of his leaves just sticking out. I kept his scarf mostly the same, and I had given him a slightly bit chubbier shape, and also gave him apron. So he's actually viable for the working space of the kitchen. I also given him gloves to help with decontamination with the food so he doesn't get any germs on it. Then I just kind of generally began to actually help do the outlines and that. Where I give them, I gave all of them highlights except for V. Or just I just generally gave them simpler shapes in that. Where I also gave V, instead of actual nothing on her legs, a belt and some trousers to cover her bare legs. But yeah, no, that's kind of about it. V so far. I will have more to say during the coloring, but oh yeah, I also made the outline for her face green. And I also gave Shelly some pretty nice goggles. Also, for some reason, outlined her blush. I don't know why I did that, but I had. I also gave her skirt a bit of a scraggly kind of look, so she looks a bit more roughed up from the actual paleontology. With Pebble, I just made his ears kind of heart-shaped, but aside from that, he is generally the same. And with Sprout, honestly, he's mostly fine. I might have forgotten the highlights for most of them except for Astro. But I gave him his general cheeks and like the fucking dimples or some shit. I don't know what they're called. Oh yeah, the freckles. Yeah, but you know, that's generally about it. One of his hands are much bigger for some reason. I don't know why. But for the colors, I just generally made them more vibrant versions of themselves. Because honestly, there's nothing really wrong with it. I gave his gloves kind of a darker red for Sprout. I gave his scarf a lighter pink, including his shaft hat. Pebble is generally also the same with his colors. I gave him the kind of flower icon and also add the highlights later in. For Astro, I just made him like just blue. Instead of like the really light blue and kind of muted color scheme, I just made him a generally vibrant shade of blue. For V, I did not really use any black. I made her a vibrant green with her bow tie actually being less vibrant. With her clothes being a darker green, her mic and arms being a gray. And for Shelly, I just generally gave her the same color scheme. Where I put a bit of color in between the goggles, and also attempted to give weight lines, but I did not like it. For Bossy and Bobette, I had some trouble actually figuring out what the design is. So during this stage, I was just kind of sketching what I thought it could look like with Bassie. Where generally, I did not really like them since it had a weird shape. Perhaps a weird size as well. But I went to a youth club and just generally that day and just began just sketching out stuff that I thought could look good with them as a redesign. And honestly, I'm pretty happy with what I had created. While these aren't usually my normal art style, I still do enjoy them, and I probably wouldn't really try to fix anything. But it will take a while before you actually get to see that, since I made this like a minute per character. Yeah, this is quite a while. Yeah, no, it's just generally focusing on the actual art style on that. Oh, here's a sketch. Yeah, no, I just generally focused more on the actual final outlining for them. I changed the eye shape into more ovular to actually represent how it was before. I gave Bassie a simpler smile instead of the cat mouth. I gave her more of a generally rounded, flowered head shape. So she kind of looks like a pill now, which is really funny. I also gave her slight dog ears, and some slight kind of dog ears for her basket, and did a second layer for her skirt. For Babette, I just generally made her the same, where she's much larger in height in comparison to Bassie. I also just generally simplified her sweater some and her hook. But yeah, I just separated them and began coloring them. Because this was before the Gordy was revealed. So I just kind of kept her a vibrant red with a vibrant green sweater, a gray metal base for her hook, and just gave Bassie a similar treatment where I made her a lighter brown with darker eyelids. But yeah, then Gordy released, and I love this little guy. He is genuinely adorable. Yeah, I just generally began experimenting with him where I made him too big, but I will fix that at some point. Yeah, I just want to like actually talk about the lore room in the new map. Because genuinely, what the hell? Does this mean Toons have parents now? I kept like the ovular eye thing. It kind of didn't change the mouth that much because I love him. He does not need fixed. He's not the most 90s character, but I also attempted to give him the actual color with highlights and that, but I don't think it worked. And I also began with actual, like, the lightest shade for the legs, and then darker and darker, and then I did the actual stems on him. And here is all of them all together. Do I think I did a better job at designing the characters than Quill? Not really. But asking a couple people just about if they look more 90s than the characters, a good chunk of them did say yeah. So at least I'm proud of that I did that right. But if you folks enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe. If you want to join Mr. Explodey's Discord, then you can, in the description, with all the music and timestamps for the actual video. Where in the Discord you'll be able to see me, see my art, whatever I post pretty much as soon as it releases, and be able to interact with a wonderful community. But honestly, I hope you enjoyed this scripted video, because this was a nightmare for me to make. That was about it. Sayonara, suckers!